Hi, my name is Amal Al-Agroobi. I'm a filmmaker. I'm from the United Arab Emirates, and I am based in London. So I've been in London on and off since 2016. I basically started off in the film industry in the UAE at a time where the industry was just sort of gearing up. We had film festivals. The film festivals have been going on for a while. There was a presence there. The industry was just being built. Um, there was Mission Impossible, there was Star Wars, there were a lot of big productions that started filming in the UAE.
Mhm.
And, you know, I was trying to get involved with all of that, but I think just being where I'm from and the UAE has a very strange dynamic about it. So
Mhm.
I just felt like I wasn't fulfilled. I didn't want to be a big fish in a small pond. So I went to London to
Yeah.
learn how to write scripts and improve on my script writing. And I wanted to be a big fish in a big pond. So that's why I came back, and
Right, right,
what I've been doing.
right. But you know what? Everything you do kinda has that stamp on it, if I can say that, because the one thing I like is when you make your YouTube videos, you say, "I am on a journey to becoming one of the best filmmakers of all time." And I like, I vibe with that, and I can really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Feel it's positive affirmations, you know, if I feel like if you are always thinking abundantly and you want the best for yourself and you have that goal and you push on, I think eventually it'll happen. And I have faith that everything that I want, I get.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's not in the way that I envisaged it or I wanted it or expected it, but it
Mhm.
happens.
Yeah.
So it helps me when I
Y
do that as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So your first project was half Emirati, right? And
Correct.
excuse me because I'm American, so my pronunciation of a lot of words are just I know it's just incorrect. But tell me, you know what I notice is like you've been interviewed about that and you've probably had all of the like routine questions. So I guess what I would like to know is the one thing that I don't think I've seen you answer is what was the experience like filming it? Right? Like because you had people who were in similar situations to you, and so how did that resonate with you and what was that experience filming it?
I think first and foremost, um, I was excited that it
Mhm,
was my first film ever, and the fact that I was there and that I was doing it was exciting for me. I felt like I had to do everything right. At the same time, I didn't have the confidence. I felt like everything I was doing was wrong as a filmmaker, and
mhm.
I kept having to check. You know, the DOP at the time would just ask me, "Are you okay with these angles?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Am I okay? Am I
Right,
supposed
right.
to not be okay? What
Right,
does
right, right,
okay
right.
mean? Am I,
Right,
you
right,
know?"
right, right.
So there was a lot of nervousness, and then I had the people come in to interview them, and that was really interesting because I feel like I'm a people person and I feel like I get along with people quite well.
Yeah.
But in that instance, you're trying to tell a story and you're trying to tell sort of you're trying to it's a documentary, so it's real life and you're trying to pull out people's truths.
Mhm.
And I think, you know, I had my abaya on, which is my traditional dress.
Yes.
And usually I have it, you know, sort of covered. It's a bit like a cloak. And then I have the headscarf, but I usually just put the headscarf on my shoulders. I don't wear it religiously. It's sort of just there culturally. But
Yes.
as people came in, I felt like I had to modify the look in order to make them feel more comfortable.
Mhm.
So I had a guy come in who was quite conservative. And
Mhm.
so I decided to put the headscarf on my head.
Yes.
And I felt like if I did that, he would feel a lot more comfortable. If he felt a lot more comfortable, he'd feel I'm a little bit like him. And if I was a little bit like him, he would give me more by way of kind of the interview and all this
Absolutely.
kind of stuff. And I
Mhm.
think that that's really important as a director, as a documentarian. You want to read people, you want people to give you the full story. And then there were other people who came in, and I just felt like, oh no, that's okay. I can just put it on my shoulders, or
Yeah. Yeah.
I can just whichever. So
Yeah.
so I suppose that's how I felt. I
Okay.
felt
Okay.
excited and nervous, but, you know,
Did you handpick each one of the people you interviewed? Like, did you have like a large group of people to choose from? Because I know sometimes as a first time filmmaker, we don't really have like a lot of variety or diversity to choose from as far as actors or, people we're going to interview as far as it comes to documentaries. So did you have your choice or did you kind of have to just take what you got?
I did not. So there was a Facebook group called Half Emirati at the time, started by
Mm,
a few people, and it
mhm,
was just, within our community, because we have a barrier, we don't talk about these things. And at the time when
mhm,
I made the film,
mhm,
people didn't talk about what it was like to be half because that was frowned upon. You weren't supposed to reveal that you were half something. You weren't supposed to reveal that your parent came from somewhere. It was a bit of a taboo. People didn't
mhm.
talk about it. So there was
Okay.
this Facebook group and a bunch of people on the Facebook group. So the first hurdle was, how do we get these people?
Mm,
And that was simple. Just put an announcement out there, say I'm doing a film. And then the next hurdle, most importantly, was, are they going to speak? Are they going to tell the truth? Are they okay or
mm.
comfortable being on camera? Because,
Yeah.
we're Arabs and the majority of us are Muslims and we're quite a conservative society. It's not a
Yes.
society where people are happy and comfortable to speak about themselves,
Yes.
especially on such a sensitive topic. And
Mm,
there's a lot of scaremongering as well. You have people kind of who work in the government, pseudo work in the government, pseudo
mm,
want to work in the government and act like they do. And
mm.
so they'll get in touch with certain people and say, you know what, this is wrong. You shouldn't be doing this. This is a national security issue. This is that.
Yeah.
And so people get scared and then they're not inclined to speak. And I had that actually when the film
Okay.
was coming out just before the premiere. I had one of the people, I had one of the participants call me and say, "So listen, I just decided I don't want to be in the film anymore." And I
Mm.
was like, "You can't just decide you don't want to be in the film. The
Yeah.
film is
Yeah.
made. It's in the brochure. We're
Yeah.
screening it in about 5 minutes."
Yeah.
And then they went, "Yeah, but well, I'm going to get my family to call. I'm going to get my father to call. I'm going to get the father to call the government, and I'm going to get
Mm.
the police involved." And it was
Mhm.
very threatening. And people are scared because
Yeah. Yeah.
they don't want to be seen in that light. So
Mhm.
I think that's true, in documentary, no matter where you are and what you do in the world. But I think there's an added level of sensitivity when it comes to the Arab world,
Yeah.
and sort of taboo subjects.
Right. 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 Well, me watching some of the interviews that you did on YouTube, I kind of know why you did that, but can you tell the audience why you chose that as a topic for your first documentary?
I was at Berlin Film Festival. It was my first film festival ever. I had sort of like won this competition exchange program thing where
Mhm.
they would take you to Germany, and as part of that you would get to attend the Berlin Film Festival.
Yeah.
At the same time, Ridley Scott and Michael Fassbender launched something on YouTube. It was called Your Film Festival. It was a competition.
Hmm.
And as part of that competition, they said, make something personal. It can be fictional animation, it can be documentary.
Hmm.
Make it about you, something that's personal to you. And if you do well and you win, we'll take you to Venice Film Festival.
Okay.
I hadn't made a film at that point, and I just thought, okay, if Ridley Scott's telling me to make a film, I'm going to make a
Yeah.
film.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I thought about what was personal to me. And on this trip, I was just thinking about it the whole time, and I didn't
Hmm.
know anything. And that was the same trip where I had met my producer, and she, we were at the train station, and she turned around to me and she said, "I'm a really good producer." I'm like, "Oh, great! I don't know what the hell that means, but will
Right.
you be my producer?"
Right. Right.
Um, and so I had a producer, and then I had some thoughts and ideas,
Hmm.
and I kind of mulled them over in my head that whole trip, that whole week and a half that I was there. And then I got back, and I was just having a chat with my family, thinking, guys, I just really want to take part. I just don't know what to do.
Hmm.
I had this idea and that idea. And they said to me, well, yeah, I mean, being Happy Manati is something that you were always curious about, and you always wondered if there were other people like us and what we went through,
Hmm.
and so why don't you
Hmm.
focus on that? That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of how it came about. It's finding like-minded people.
Right, right. Well, it's interesting because I actually lived it. I just recently got to Istanbul. I was in Dubai for 3 years. And I always wondered about the background and the culture. And I never really, I guess in America, we kind of label them as multiracial, and in the Black community we call them mixed. So I thought the film and the disclosure from some of the participants was like fantastic, and kind of finding out their perspective from their peers and what was going on. What did your parents kind of think about uh, you taking that risk or that leap? I guess in two perspectives, like you're leaving I guess your science background, science career to now pursue filmmaking. And then what also too, that you kind of mentioned it was a taboo subject. So how did your parents feel about you now entering this new sphere, this new part of your life?
I think it was really difficult at the beginning because in Arab society, filmmaking is almost akin, may I say it, but akin to prostitution.
Really?
Um, yes, and that's because that's the kind of idea and vision that people have gotten from Egyptian cinema, which is where it sort of all started. Egyptian cinema, and the things that you hear and read about that is all that, women are objectified. If you get something done, it's because the women are sleeping with the director or
Mm,
whatever, whatever.
mm,
So they never
mm,
had that vision. It's just sort of all the dirty people do film, all the
mm,
dirty people. And that's
mm.
okay for them because we are
Yeah,
well raised and well bred, but they are not.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and I think that's kind of the impression that most people had. So I
Mm,
think my family were quite hesitant about me going to cinema, which is why I ended up pursuing sciences, biomedical sciences, a master's degree in neuroscience. I worked
mm,
as so in the medical profession for some years.
mm,
And just to satisfy the fact that you can't enter this realm, you can't do this thing,
mm,
and then to go off and make a film that's slightly controversial as my first film, everyone was saying no.
mhm,
And everyone, I mean, everyone, including my family. I mean, I had
mm,
no support. And I think a lot of filmmakers can relate when people don't support them, aren't behind them, don't believe in their ideas.
mhm,
It's difficult enough entering an industry where you're not so sure about yourself. But when
mhm,
everybody else is doubting you,
mhm.
then just imagine how difficult it is.
Yeah.
But I did it. I did it, and I'm so glad I did. I mean, up to the very it was, I think, for me, and this is always the magical moment and will be the magical moment forever
Mhm.
for me, is when I actually screen my film at a cinema and I see and I feel and I hear the audience response. That gives me life.
Yeah.
That validates me. That makes me think like
Mhm.
everything I've done,
Mm.
I'm just happy with everything I've done. I'm
Right.
I'm really glad for it.
What is the experience being inside of the ropes at a film festival? You know what I mean? Like I've been to a film festival before, but I was kind of like on the outside, kind of looking at people who have made some type of achievement. So what is it like to be interviewed, to be kind of like on that red carpet type of thing?
It's incredible. I mean, f you get such a buzz.
Mm,
It feels it's almost indescribable. First of all, it's surreal. You get to moments where you think, "This is surreal." It was
mhm,
surreal for me when I was walking beside Kate Blanchett on the red carpet.
mhm,
It's surreal to me when I'm having, conversations with directors and directors' work that I really admire.
mhm,
It's, um it's surreal to me when, for years, I've been sort of a Star Wars fan. I was a Star Wars fan
mhm,
for many years, and I'm in
mhm.
the industry. And of course, this is not the film festival, but I did meet George Lucas, and
Okay.
that was like, whoa, it's surreal.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
happens a lot in
Mhm,
film festivals. So you're excited. You feel like you're finally someone. You feel like your voice
mm,
is heard. You feel
mm,
like people know your stuff and people know your films, and
mhm,
that's incredible. Um, to be interviewed, just to be interviewed. And I remember, you know, um, Nina Rote, who used to write for the Huffington Post, she said, "Oh, I watched your film and I feel like it's one of the best films at the film festival this year, and that's why I wanted to interview you." I
absolutely.
was like, "You wanted to interview me? Wait, hang
Absolutely.
on. You want to interview me?" And so that's the most like incredible thing ever. I mean, you're excited. You're also incredibly exhausted,
Hmm.
but you're also grateful for that exhaustion. I mean, you want to watch films and you want to attend the talks that are at the film festival, but at the same time, you have a list of people who want to interview you. You
Hmm.
have a bunch of parties that you've been invited to. You have a
Hmm.
bunch of meetings set up that you need to get to.
Hmm.
And so from morning to evening, you're just from one space to another, just like it's
Hmm.
just nonstop.
Hmm.
Um, and it's such a joy. I just remember, when I was at the Dubai Film Festival, for example, you wake up in the morning and because everyone's staying at that same hotel as you, you go down for breakfast and
Hmm.
you're having breakfast with, Susan Beer. You're having breakfast with, these people that you just, and admire and you love. And you're like, gosh, pass me the
Yeah.
butter. Gosh, this
Yeah.
is so surreal. Pass me the butter. You know? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just it's no, it's incredible. And then when it all ends, and I think I mentioned this in one of my YouTube videos, it's like such a come down.
Yeah.
You really are depressed and you're like, uh-huh, it's all
Yeah.
over. There's no
Yeah.
more festival. I'm not gonna get this every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
If people follow my YouTube channel, they'll be able to see it soon.
Oh, absolutely. Well, tell everybody what your YouTube channel is.
So I've got Al-Agroobi Films, which is the company YouTube channel, and then Filmmaker Amal, which is one that I started during the COVID era,
Hmm.
and will continue, of course. I took a little hiatus. I'm like, is this working? Is this worth it?
I think
And
it is. I think
yeah,
it's
yeah, and
worth
I
it.
think yeah, definitely, I think it's worth it too. Because of course I wanted to create a platform for other filmmakers where they can kind of
Yeah.
learn a little bit of what I go through and what they might benefit
Hmm.
from. So,
Hmm.
yeah. So there we go.
Oh,
Filmmaker Amal.
right. Well, I guess my next question is because I think what you said is in your initial film, you pretty much kind of like came up with the idea, but then you had a DP, right, working for you, and people kind of handling the camera, handling even the editing as well, right? Would that be fair to say?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so now you've completed those two documentaries, and now you're starting to get into doing, I don't want to say regular films, but what 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 would you call it now? Like, so they're not documentaries. What do you call a horror film as opposed to a documentary? This is a feature film, right?
It's a fictional film.
Okay.
So the one that I was raising funds for on Kickstarter was Ladies Coffee, which is a short fictional film. Instead of it being documentary, instead of you filming and finding the story within people's voices, you are putting words into that person's
Ah,
mouth when you do
oh,
fiction.
okay.
So you're writing a script and you're saying, I want you to act this way and do this thing. And because I had spent a lot of time honing my script writing skills, I wrote a feature-length feature film, which I'm working with a Swedish co-producer on. That one is
Hmm.
called Disruptive Servant. We're
Hmm.
just at the fundraising stage. But then I thought, okay, wouldn't it be fun to make a short horror film as well? And that's
Yes.
what Ladies Coffee was, and
Okay.
that's what
How,
we were raising money for.
how close are you to uh, your goal as far as raising funds?
So with Ladies Coffee, we successfully raised the funds through Kickstarter.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep. So we met our goal. So that's great. And if we need a little bit of extra, we're just going to reach out to different partners and investors and see if anyone
Hmm.
wants to come in privately. But just having that first bulk of cash is very, very
Yeah.
useful. Of
Yeah.
course, we were supposed to film that in October 2020, but because of the whole COVID situation in the UK, it's a little bit more strict. Now we've gone back into lockdown. It's November currently. And so we moved the shoot to January 2021. And we're just going to play it by ear and see how it goes. But the money's sitting in the bank. So we're
Hmm.
ready to go as soon as they're ready to go and they let us go.
Hmm.
In terms of the feature film, we have a couple of deals. That's about a $1.8 million budget. We already have
Hmm.
$300,000
Hmm.
and we're just looking for the rest. We had a great deal that was going to come through, but then was pushed again because of COVID situation.
Hmm.
And it's been a journey. I mean, my producer and I have been looking for the funds for the past 2, 3 years now.
Hmm.
Um, and when I first started in the film industry, I remember being at Gifoni Film Festival, which is for children.
Hmm.
I was there with The Brain That Sings, and it actually won. The Brain That Sings won the film during that year. But we were just standing around sort of a circle of filmmakers, and
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about some other guy's film, and we said, "Oh yeah, we really enjoyed your film. That was great." And he goes, "Yeah,
Right.
yeah, thanks. It's taken me 4 years to make." And I thought, 4 years?
Mm-hmm.
I said, "What were you doing in 4 years? What? I
Right.
mean, that's
Right.
just lazy film. That's
Right.
probably just a
Mm-hmm.
hobby for you."
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm a filmmaker, oh boy,
Yeah. Yeah. You
I
kind of
understand.
understand. Yeah. Yeah.
I
You can relate.
understand where those
Yeah.
4 years went. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, you apply, you wait, it doesn't come through, you can't apply to something else, something else happens, you're hopeful about this, then that falls
Mm-hmm.
through.
Mm-hmm.
And then 4 years later, somebody gives you the money and you're like, "Yeah, I can shoot this
Yeah.
now."
Yeah. 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 So now you've kind of got your feet wet, but more than feet wet. Now you're probably knee deep. Have you been able to, are you touching cameras now? Are you like more a part of the process now? Like, are you editing using the software? Where are you at now with that?
First and foremost, I always think that filmmaking is sort of a team sport. So I
Mm-hmm.
think as a craft, you need to know your craft and you need to understand all aspects of filmmaking. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to work a camera, to know sort of what the lenses are, what they do, a bit about lighting, editing software, I think that's crucial to any filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the reason why we hire these creatives and professionals is because we want their specific expertise on our film and
Mm-hmm.
because they can do it better and they understand it better.
Mm-hmm.
So I always kind of stay true to that. But as a filmmaker, I'm not making big films all the time and I need to keep busy. I need to put, bread on the table. I need to make some money. And how do I do that? Usually that's through filmography, videography, and photography. So I do have my own camera, I have my own equipment, and sometimes I do the odd job, sort of come and shoot a commercial for us, come shoot a corporate video for us.
Mm-hmm.
I put some money in my pocket and then I can survive for the next few months until the next
Mm-hmm.
job comes along. And I think a lot of filmmakers who want to be independent filmmakers,
Mm-hmm.
they make so much money that way through
Really?
videography
Okay.
that,
Okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, they just
Yeah.
they just don't find the need to do films, or they don't find the time to do films.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you're shooting, I think last year I did something for like the educational, sort of an educational entity, and I filmed a few students talking about their journey at school and winning a prize and so on, and that took up it was a 2 or 3 week job, filming, editing, et cetera, and I got a big wad of cash, I got a big chunk.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, yeah, that's, for me, it's not frequent. And then I also don't accept jobs frequently because it just kills me. It's very routine. I'm sitting there editing
Really?
every
Okay.
day for
Okay.
5, 6 days straight. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just draining. And they come back, now remove this 5 seconds. I don't like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that just keeps happening. And yeah, I mean, like I said, some people get to the stage where they're making, tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars shooting
Mm-hmm.
weddings or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then they think, well, I just want to shoot my film. How am I ever going to do that? And the reason why I don't focus too much on videography is because I want to leave that space open for me to get involved in actual filmmaking
Mm-hmm.
and building myself within my craft.
Yeah. Have you thought about were you ever in front of the camera as well, like an actor as well?
Initially, my first love was acting. I mean, I wanted to be an actor, not
Mm-hmm.
a director. And because it was a taboo, like I said, in the Arab world, I never really jumped
Mm-hmm.
into it.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do theater throughout school. I did it every single year. And at university, I was involved too. And then I started doing background work on film sets
Mm-hmm.
when I was at university. So, when I had days off or whichever, I'd be on a film. My first ever extra job was being a police officer on Kick-Ass.
Really?
And
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And I remember just, I was kind of buddying up with Omari Hardwick and just
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "Whoa, he's talking to me. Oh my gosh." This and
Mm-hmm.
and he'd be like, "Hold my hat for a second, Amal." I'm like, "Me?
Yeah.
Yes, 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 I will." And just like being part of it and being on set, like, oh my God,
Yeah.
it was incredible. And I
Yeah.
was just like, this is the best day of my life. This is legit the best day of my life. And I didn't stop, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I still do it, but
Yeah.
it gets a little awkward because I do it because I love it, because I enjoy it, because I love being on set. But at the
Mhm.
same time, at a stage now where I'm a director and I know a lot of these professionals that work on the film.
Mm.
And I remember being on a set, I can't remember, it was a couple of years ago. And the DOP of that film
Mhm.
was somebody I had met and is a colleague. And, we were sort of, I know this is difficult, but it was like sort of on equal footing, and
Yeah,
we were
yeah. Oh,
dining
yeah.
together, we were
Mm.
inviting to the, and suddenly we queue up for lunch
Mhm.
during this film, and then there's the queue for the essays, supporting
Mhm.
artists, and then there's
Mhm.
a queue for the crew. And
Mhm.
he's there and I'm there, and he kind of looks over and he goes, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, I'm just background
Yeah,
artist.
yeah,
Let's hang it
yeah,
out here."
yeah,
And it gets a little awkward,
yeah,
so I think
yeah,
less and less, I'll be doing that less and less.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I had to do that because, first of all, well, I enjoyed it, but also because I had to make money somehow,
Mhm. Yeah,
and
yeah.
being on set is the best place to be.
You've been able to accomplish all of these things. How do you stay, I guess humble is the only word that I can choose, but how do you stay in that, like where you are as such a spirited and very humble person?
Thank you so much.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
I don't know. I'm not quite sure how to answer that. I mean,
But you're very grounded though. Like when I reached out to you, I was just like, oh, well, it's like, because to be honest, I didn't know what you did or had accomplished or had not accomplished. After you said yes, of course, I had to do my research, my due diligence from my audience. And I found that you've accomplished a whole lot. I mean, I don't know if you know that or aware of that, but you've accomplished so much, in such a short period of time. And so I'm kind of wondering, how you stay grounded in where you are.
I'm not sure. I think, I mean, accomplishment doesn't mean you throw your morals and values and respect for people out the window, I suppose. And
Hmm. Hmm.
that's the way I was raised, and
Hmm.
I come from quite, I think, a privileged family. We had quite a privileged upbringing,
Hmm.
and we had, I would say we had everything. We had everything we could want.
Hmm.
And I remember just reflecting on it when I was a child and thinking, just because you have everything, that, that doesn't mean you need to treat people kind of less than you. But it's easy to say that
Hmm.
when you have everything,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know? I don't know how to put it, but I mean, I guess, it just makes me me. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I love people, and I'm all about people, and I'm all about giving back to people. And that's what we're here on life to do. It doesn't matter how much money I have or what successes I have or what I've accomplished. At the end of the day,
Mhm.
we're all going to die. And when we die, we take nothing with us except our deeds and how
Yes.
we treat others and
Hmm.
what we've accomplished and created and left behind as a legacy. And that,
Hmm.
for me, essentially is, I think, at the core of it, why I do what I do. I love filmmaking and I love storytelling.
Hmm.
But more than anything, this is contribution.
Yeah.
Because one day I'll be gone and people will watch these films, whether it's documentaries that they're learning from and being educated and
Hmm.
being aware about,
Hmm.
or it's something fictional where they're inspired or scared or motivated,
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
Somebody watching that film or somebody watching the things that I do somehow their lives will change for the better because of it. And I
Absolutely.
live on that. I live on that
Absolutely.
promise. I live on
Absolutely.
that. So
Yeah.
I think that's what grounds me, really.
So if looking back on who you were, your initial project and where you are now, right? Like tell me the difference between that creative and the current creative.
I think that creative was just full of doubt,
Hmm.
didn't have confidence, was easily swayed or put down by other people. Um, you know, the person that I am today, I've always known what I wanted or how I wanted it or what I felt, but my ability to express that before, where I'd say, well, I kind of want that camera at this angle.
Hmm.
If someone had said to me, no, that's just not going to work, I
Hmm.
would have been like, okay, like whatever you say.
Yeah.
And now it's
Yeah.
kind of like,
Yeah.
bring that camera right here because I know what I'm doing and I know my vision. I know what I want.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
So I think just a lot more confidence. I don't think I've changed much in that. For me, I never really reflect. I never really look back at my life and think, oh, look what
Mhm,
I've done. Oh, good for me.
mhm.
Pat on the back. Good,
Yeah,
well done,
yeah,
you.
yeah,
I
yeah,
always just
yeah.
look ahead because I feel like I'm never doing enough, actually. And maybe that's why you say, oh, like I've accomplished a lot. But
Mhm,
as a
mhm.
creative, I just always go forward and I'm always in motion and I'm always like, what's next? What's next? How can I be better? How can I be bigger? How can I create even more? Because I
Mhm.
think that I need to feel fulfilled within myself. And I had this impression that I wasn't good enough
Yeah,
then. And
yeah.
now I feel it. I mean, I still feel it, which I think is
Mhm.
is is good because it pushes you. But
Yes, it
I feel a
does.
lot better than I did back then.
Okay, okay.